Squeezing fat out of arteries is not cheap.
Money.
Adverts cost money as well, exactly. None of it's cheap, yeah.
So would folks here cancel a performance if they'd get a fatwa? Because it happened to me 10 years ago.
Did you cancel your performance?
No.
Okay. Would you cancel your performance if you got a fatwa?
Is that the same as a heart attack?
No, it's not the same as a heart attack. It's Can you explain what a fatwa is?
Well, for the layperson, basically, it's an edict which a religious person may make in relation to some person or some action, which basically says that what you've done is essentially against the tenets of Islam, and therefore a prelate, for example, might put on record that in his view that this is something which goes against the tenets of Islam. Even if you're not Muslim, he can say something, and that's fine. But I think a lot of people in the West, of course, they associate fatwas with a threat of death following fatwa. But I think we were talking about religion earlier on, and I think you folks are forgetting that, if you go to the Middle East, or if you go to Southeast Asia, if you belong to a Christian group in a part of Indonesia, or a Muslim group in a part of another part of Indonesia, there are all kinds of cultural issues around, whether live arts practice is an accepted form of, cultural practice, and whether or not, a region should actually outlaw live performances. So I think we are in a very privileged situation here, but we are tending to forget that actually in
well, it has got a relationship to the smoking issue as well, because what you're talking about is an individual's right against the collective right. Because you're basically you're saying you've got.
So what it boils down to is, would people put their money where their mouth is? In other words, if you were about to do a performance and you just were told, listen, the local mosque has put a fatwa on this, would you go ahead and proceed? I mean, I think it's a serious issue for a lot of artists around the world. Is if you're putting on a piece of work. I mean, there was a play about I think it was in the north of England, a play. Yes, it was about Punjab. It was about Sikhism, in fact, and it was a play which is considered to offend Punjabis and Sikhs, and actually there was a threat of violence, so they had to cancel the whole performance. But I think it's we need to remember that actually live arts practice isn't something which happens just a bunch of intellectuals think it is a good idea, let's get funded, we do it. There's a whole area of practice which is so politically proscribed. So we need to recognize that actually in the West, live art practice is very much kind of underwritten by state institutions and by establishment, but in some parts of the world, you're up against it.
Well, I think the problem with your question is everyone is going to say, yes, I would still do it. I would still carry on in the face of that fatwa, in theory, but in practice, of course, it's a very different thing.
Hang on a minute, I mean, it depends, doesn't it? It totally depends whether you're talking about someone really threatening you or not, or whether that was like a total load of bullshit, or whether someone was seriously threatening your life and your family. Because I mean, what level are you talking about? And you keep on talking about other countries. We are here at the moment, and I understand that you're relating it to your country, but.
Yeah. But I had a similar situation where we had a kind of fatwa against us. When we did it wasn't exactly a fatwa, it was more of like a censorship issue, where we were doing a direct democracy game show called Who Wants to Be. You can come and see it next Saturday in Norwich, and Contemporary Art Norwich. But anyway, we were doing this show, and we were doing it with kids, and we were making a mural where the kids could vote on what was in the mural. But the local authorities said, or the housing association said, you can't mention knives, guns, violence or territorialism in this performance. And we said, no, that's censorship. And they said, well, don't do it then. And then we said, no, we're going to do it. And in the end, we came to a compromise.
Yep. Is it specifically like one mosque? Does that denote that? Does that mean that then the whole of Islam is against you, or is it just like certain people? It could be, but if it's just one, could you not then seek? I think I would want to find out if it was just them that had a problem with it, or if it was just a general whole religion's response.
Can you get an anti-fatwa?
Well, yeah. Can you get it? Can you get it quashed, or not quashed? Or I don't want to belittle it, but like, is there?
Incitement to religious hatred, and I think one needs to look at those things in context, because I think people lately have actually been in a bit of a bind in funding work which actually offends certain religious groups, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Sikh,
but I mean,
Muslim.
hatred and offence, you know, that's...
Yeah, but I mean, what I think the question is, if one sort of like one isolated cleric decides that it's wrong, but the majority of clerics decide it's right, but that person issues a fatwa, what is the situation then?
I have no idea, but all I can say is that every day it's an issue, not in terms of Islam. Let's just talk in general in terms of how religion sometimes becomes a barrier to somebody putting on their work. And I'm not, I don't have a particular position on this, but I'm just aware that this is often a challenge for artists in other parts of the world, where the work they do doesn't actually fit the cultural norms. And I think it then becomes a question of whether you actually risk physical violence, whether you risk your status in society, whether you risk your ability to earn a living from then on, because you are actually a bit of a pariah afterwards. But I think we haven't had anything in the discussion tonight here about how live arts practice which transgresses, because we've talked about, for example, some work there which is a little bit cuddly because a woman was given a bunch of flowers and somebody gave very good eye contact. But
you think it's not dangerous enough? It's all a bit safe.
No, it's not about that. I'm just saying that it's not that all live arts practice is actually safe to go into. I mean, I used to advise an artist called Frank Kobe just when he was starting out, and I remember the challenges people had, and people, of course, wondered whether it was actually legal to actually watch somebody wounding themselves.
Somebody wounding themselves?
Yeah, which was part of the practice in those days.
Okay.
It feels like that. I'm talking to this guy here. It feels like you're kind of dancing around some kind of subject. Have you done a piece of performance art that where you had some kind of thing, fatwa, however you say it, put on you?
Yeah.
Just one. So, have you already talked about that then, or do you want to talk about it now?
We didn't really talk about it. He just mentioned it.
Because, well, it feels like. Are you going to talk about it?
My point was just generally that actually we are not in monocultural societies, and the work which is acceptable and even considered to be, this is good transgression, is considered by others to be.
Why are you relating it? Well, no, why are you not relating it? Well, why aren't you talking more specific?
It's easy pretty much to offend people nowadays because we're in a multicultural society. There's always going to be somebody who'll be offended, but what you're saying is you can't offend people at an arts venue like this because everybody's coming in with an open mind and it's the wrong place to do it.
Should we see if we can offend someone here tonight?
Yeah, go on then. Try to offend someone.
Let's see if we can offend someone. How can we offend somebody?
No, you don't want to go there, mate.
Why not? Obviously there's not enough offence.
Why do you want to offend people?
Well, I don't know.
I think people have the wrong issue. Like, people say, we're in a multicultural society now. We've always been in a multicultural society since society began. Always been multicultural. There's always people you can offend. You know what I mean? There's no good transgression and bad transgression because it's completely subjective. You know what I mean? So everybody should be able to say what they want. Freedom of speech. There's no you can have this freedom of speech but not that freedom of speech.
But I
say what you want, do what you want, and if people take offence, that's their problem.
I personally think that there is an issue there with religion though, because religion has got this special sort of zone where you're not allowed to offend religion. In a for example, in a scientific theory, I can say I don't believe that the universe was created by the Big Bang. And I think that's a load of crap. And no one's going to come and arrest me for refuting that theory. But
why does religion have more right to be offended than science or reason? You know what I mean? Like why is religion so well protected? I mean, I think money might have something to do with it, but that's my just.
To offend someone, religious people are an easy target.
They're the easiest bloody people to offend. I mean, that's why. Is there any religious people here in the house? Can we come and offend you just as an experiment, basically? But I mean, surely there must be ways of offending non-religious people as well. I mean, why single out those religious people to offend them?
But the intention of live arts practice isn't necessarily to offend people. The intention is to kind of engender the discourse. And in a sense, you can actually do that by sowing the seeds of a bit of friction there. But it's not about offense, and I don't think that. Any form of live arts practice which says I'm setting out to offend.
Yeah.
Well, there's some comics who've done that, and that's okay. But I'm just saying that in general, in live arts practice, we're talking about transgression, we're talking about taking risk, and I think that's a different thing to saying offence.
Yeah. So you think it's more about there's not enough risk taking going on? Is that what it's about? Okay. People are taking risks.